The first arc to Absolute Martian Manhunter by Deniz and Javier Rodriguez has come to a close. This has truly been one of the most incredible first arcs I've read in any DC Comics series in the last 25 years, for sure. There's nothing quite like it. The dialogue, the setup, the characters, the way Deniz has crafted this world, and the way Javier brought it to life with these just fantastic lines and colors here, and then Osum, their letterer, created such a nice tableau of words and thoughts because the book is so heavily driven by its thoughts and the words and who is speaking and all the lettering that told so much of the story. I want to walk you through the entire first arc. This is Martian Manhunter issue number 1 here. What I love about these, this is a beautiful variant cover I got. Love that. But then inside is the actual A cover that Javier Rodriguez did. I just love so many of these variants. They got great artists who do these beautiful pieces here. This story literally begins with a bang, an explosion that sends our FBI agent, also named John, into a coma and concussion. He ends up in the hospital. He should have been dead, but somehow he's alive. And not only just alive, he's fine. He hears a voice inside of his head. You can see these balloons here for when the Martian Manhunter is talking. You see these are cloud-like balloons with the text that's a little struggling and ragged. That is the voice of the Martian Manhunter inside John's head. I always loved this image so much of him here. They're wrapped up in gauze, and you just see this one eye open and the light shining in on it. He survives this attack, and then he starts to experience these colors. You can see here it's on the cigarette lighter. You can see here he's here at the office with his boss doing a debrief. What has started to happen is the Martian Manhunter has crept under his thoughts. It's almost this spiritual companion that lives underneath him, and it can tell the future, and it also can tell the spiritual nature and the thoughts and emotions of the entire city he's in. So it's like he's swimming through the emotional context of everyone else as he travels about his day. Each one of these issues is surrounded by a horrifying crime, and this one here is a suicide bomber. At home, he has Bridget, his beautiful wife, who wants him to try and recover from this accident, but he wants to go right back to work. You can tell their relationship is strained. He's a workaholic. He's possessed by his pursuits as an FBI agent and the things he's uncovering, and then also what seems to be almost this madness and insanity that has come from the Martian Manhunter. It's crept into his thoughts. And they have a son, Tyler. This is one of my favorite parts. This is Deniz and Javier Rodriguez's magic. Is the son is a sculptor. He's a young boy. He's very shy, quiet, introvert, but he sculpts these figurines. And throughout the issues, he's sculpting these figurines, and they tell part of the story. And although this boy doesn't talk much, he's revealing the story through these sculptures. And here it's his mom and his dad and their struggle that's going to come. Because this first arc essentially is going to take their marriage, break it apart, and then begin to put it back together. Something about issue 1 that they did also in issue 6, which is totally incredible. It shows the inside of these storytellers. As you see this page, it looks like a white blank page. However, if you turn and you face the sun, and then you take this page, it just looked like a normal page a second ago, and you see it? We're the Martian Mindhunter. You can see it's just a normal page, but you see through it when you hold it up to light, and you can see there, to be continued. That attention to the detail and giving you a visual, physical experience that is occurring here on the floppy that makes it very special. Issue 2. Love this beautiful variant cover here. Love these variants. Here it was the original cover by Javier Rodriguez. In this story, the obsession for crime solving has begun to fully consume John. And this time they're looking for this guy right here, a mass shooter in the makings here. And I love the way Deniz humanizes something that is quite horrific. And now every single one of these shooters out there obviously is dealing with mental health issues. They're also dealing with some sort of incredible amount of insecurity and horrible things in their life. However, that doesn't justify their crime. But what he sets in motion is you can see that even though how evil and awful this person is, they're still just a human like the rest of us. See, in John, I love this here. He's always smoking. And when he smokes, the smoke comes out. It kind of becomes Martian Manhunter, but only he can see and hear this. So people think he's crazy because he's often talking to himself, but really he's talking to the Martian. And it's these little gags here that Javier brings together, like the Martian Manhunter into the parking meter. This building sensation of I'm going crazy, I'm going crazy, I'm seeing this impossible thing everywhere I go. Brilliant. Here's another one of these moments where you can feel the emotion and thoughts of the entire city. And what I like so much about this is that this story is a spiritual story being echoed and executed out in a physical world of combat, conflict, and crime. There's some masterwork here The mass shooter is heading out, and you can see reflected in his sunglasses all the people that he's about ready to shoot. You can see the shadowed face, the reflection in the sunglasses, and then the horror starts. And look at the way Javier did this. He put all the lives of these people this guy's gunning down into the guy's silhouette. Shooting takes place and escalates. You can see how he becomes as tall as a building and people are running away from him. Not that he's physically there, but he feels that way, that he's spiritually there. It's this emotional side of it. And then John has a showdown with the shooter, and he can hear the guy's thoughts and feelings. And you see there's the shooter, and you can see the Martian Manhunter inside his head, and all these emotions and thoughts and feelings that have come together to build this mass shooter. And with the help of Martian Manhunter, he's able to talk this shooter down, to lower his gun for just a moment. And then what I think is the best panel in the entire arc. The mass shooter is shot by a sniper, and as the bullet punches through his head, instead of brain matter coming out, it's all the memories and feelings and emotions and instances of this person's life, though as tragic and horrible as it is, they go blowing out the back of his head. This kind of creative storytelling with the art and the writing that makes this series something that just grabs a hold of you, and each issue you're like, I can't stop this roller coaster I'm on, and the emotions it's bringing to me I never expected. Another beautiful variant cover here, love that. And then here is the Javier Rodriguez cover, also fantastic as well. Now in this story, our criminals are quite sinister as well. They're essentially lighting people on fire, mostly homeless people. They're dousing in gasoline and lighting on fire. And it's not just one person, 25 people all across the city are lighting homeless people on fire at the same time. And in this issue, we get the inkling that it's not just random acts of violence, that there is a force, a wicked force at work that's maneuvering its way through the city. And we're going to come to learn the name of this wicked force is the White Martian. I love the poetics of this, that the smoke of the burning bodies, has gone up in different colors there as John is feeling the emotions of these people. And you become empathetic for John and his madness and obsession with his crimes because they're just so horrific. How could you do anything but throw your whole life into trying to stop them? This is this incredible interrogation here. You can see how the Martian Manhunter is touching the woman's head, and John is able to get information out of her. It's this Martian Manhunter creeping under the skin of other people that gives our detective the opportunity and power to be able to get more information, to see their thoughts and feelings. And then this is one of my favorite pages here. His son Tyler is playing, once again, with his sculptures with the Martian Manhunter. And John, our detective, sees that and doesn't know what to think. Is this his friend or his foe? The Martian Manhunter in the first few issues, you start to begin, is he an untrustworthy narrator? Is he actually a villain? Because he talks so esoterically and in scattered words and emotions. Later you come to find you think he's good. And maybe at the end of the first arc you say he is, but there's still doubt. Great storytelling. What a beautiful splash page here of all these people lit on fire and the smoke of them coming together. And you see how it's a big white plume that's leading to this white Martian. This is another great thing that's revealed, is the Martian vision. This is John's ability to look out into the city and to see everybody's thoughts and feelings. And you can see here how cool that is. And this visual layout here with the smile and the arrow going to his head. This is great. This is where we start to see the reveal that there is a greater force at work. It's not just random acts of violence. You see this incredible monster he's facing. This is swirling bits of color. He's facing all the hate and anger of all these people that are burning to death in these fires. And the Martian is giving him the help to fight back. What an epic panel here. This is where the reveal of the White Martian is given to you. Issue 4. What a beautiful cover here. Love this one so much. And then, of course, Javier Rodriguez gives you all the emotion, love all the reflection in the sunglasses. This one starts to deal with hatred and violence towards different immigrant groups. So it's not that there is a master race, so to speak. It's just every immigrant group is at each other's throats here. With all the heat and the sweltering city, it's boiling up. It's so great the way Javier brings us together. Look at that, all the sweat, all the frustration, the reflection in the sunglasses. You can feel the heat. You start to reflect back to some of these migrants, the different wars they fought in at home. John is starting to feel all of the emotion of this. His relationship at home with Bridget is starting to collapse. He's losing touch with his son, and that really tears at your heartstrings that you have this character who's relationship at home with his wife, who is a wonderful woman, and he has this wonderful, beautiful son, is starting to collapse because of his own obsession and because of his own, is it madness? Look at these incredible pages here. I love this, all the immigrant battling here, the heretics, the blasphemers, all the inner city fighting that comes when you get a massive melting pot together. The heat boils up, and all the things that they've taken the energy to look past or to appreciate or respect in another person goes out the window, and it gets all tribal. This is such a great sequence here. This conversation with him and his wife. He comes home, she's in her underwear getting ready for bed, and she's trying to have a hard discussion with him saying, hey, our relationship is falling apart, and he's avoiding it. And it's this avoidance from him of facing his own inner problems and his wife trying to face them that really tears at your heartstrings. And you can see that beautiful image right there. You can see the colors, the Martian Manhunter. He's feeling all of her emotions too. All of her thoughts and feelings echoed in this explosion of the universe. Because when Deniz's writing is backdropped by this kind of art, it really brings the emotion home. Oh, how I love that image here of them in black and white of how they once were. And this trying to connect, but they can't. Ultimately, it goes south in this conversation. She decides she needs to step away, leave him for a time, a little separation, which really tears your heartstrings because there's this boy who's silently playing with his clay upstairs. And it keeps echoing through his mind, all the violence, the explosions, boom, boom, boom. And now they've come home to roost. Here we are, issue 5. Beautiful variant cover. Loved this one. Him trapped in the tractor beam of the Martian Manhunter. Here's Javier's initial cover. Gorgeous as well. Now this one gets even more haunting. The threat in the city is this man with a clown jacket who's going around and killing people's dogs. And something quite sinister about someone who goes and kills innocent animals. It makes you hate them even the more. There's also this other crazy, crazy person who's putting poison and chopped up pieces of glass inside of chocolate bars and putting them on the shelf at stores for kids to eat and then die. So John is still trying to get to the heart of the matter of all these crimes. He's trying to figure out this white Martian, the one that's inspiring all this horrific crime across the city. And you can see one thing they've done here with this issue is they plays out in the shadows. Here's the dead dog, but here's the shadow of it. Here's this woman talking to them, but in her shadows, you can see her loving and talking to her dog. You can see the shadow helping this person carry this heavy load. The story starts to play out. And you see there's this very poetic way that Deniz and Javier work together with Deniz's very poetic writing and this imagery that's very suggestive without being so literal. And then the heat causes the power to go out in the city and chaos breaks out. We've got cults dancing in the street. We've got people fighting with their shadows. You've got looters going on. You've got this crazy sort of cult with all the lights racing through the city. It's a full breakdown. And I think for many of us who went through COVID, you understand that feeling of like the tensions in the city have just gone through the roof. And the sad story of this is Tyler, his son. Now the impact and damage of his parents' dwindling relationship is starting to affect him, and he's getting even more recluse. Heartbreaking panel here when he goes to the store and he goes to buy the same candy the guy has been putting the glass and poison into. John is trying to sort out the chaos in the city when he gets hit by an ambulance. He's great, there's a doctor's the one that's hit me. But it turns out the people driving the ambulance are the true psychos in the city. And their plan is to cut John up into little pieces. Look at this, how haunting. So his family is falling apart. He's been hit on the side of the road. He's bleeding out. There's a guy with an electric saw wanting to cut his limbs off. And then you get this incredible splash page to just show the size and weight of this city that's about ready to implode in on itself. And then here we are with issue 6. What a gorgeous cover on this one. Look at that. And then Javier's fantastic cover. It takes us right back to this moment here where John is about ready to lose his limbs to this crazy psychotic doctor with the circular saw. And then the man with the clown jacket is coming for Bridget and his son. He's going to kill them, but she's a tough woman and she's got her shotgun and she's going to start shooting. And the Martian Manhunter finally steps in for John and blasts these people away. But what I love is he doesn't shoot them with a laser that kills them. He shoots them with a laser that shuts off all electrical circuitry in the guy's brain, essentially killing him, but in a way that's a little bit more nuanced. But see, there's something crazy about the man with the clown jacket. He can walk through walls because he talked to the White Martian, and the White Martian taught him that there's so much useless space in the universe, and he can just simply pass through it. So he goes right through walls, and she's running away from him, but she can't get away fast enough, and she shoots him with a shotgun, but the bullet just seems to pass right through him, and then she blows his brains out. And then the head of the White Martian just appears. And here's our first reveal of who this White Martian is, the villain. So the White Martian has come in as an embodied, this other sort of avatar, if you will, much like the Martian Manhunter is doing with John. They've embodied these humans. So the war is going to wage in this final conflict between humans in the real world, people out on the streets fighting and screaming, and then in the ethereal/spiritual world between these two Martians. John finally makes it home. He's going to save Bridget. Then this becomes one of the most miraculous fights I've ever seen. Essentially, the Martians are using the emotions of the city to fight back. For them, a punch is not just a punch. It's a metaphor. Down here with the real world, everything is more lethal. A punch is a punch. John is fighting this crazy man with this knife who's trying to drive it through his eyeball. And if you can see, so for example, the white Martian reaches across town into a kid who's dying from cancer in the hospital, and he latches onto that tumor that's growing in his brain, and he starts to expand it and almost use that as a weapon. Then the green Martian goes to a girl who's literally living just 4 floors above him, who 20 years later will come up with the cure for cancer and stops it. I have to read this one to you. The war of green and white unfolds the sky into alien geometries and nonsense emotions, with incomprehensible thesis and antithesis weapons. Living philosophies debate the life and death of worlds. Reality's crumbling infrastructure is collateral damage. Every mine in Middleton becomes a battleground. He uses the fear of the atomic bomb from an aging hippie to transform an atomic bomb into the real world. And then the green Martian deactivates that bomb before it hits. And then everyone is coming for John. You see they've got the white Martian heads on them. They're going to blow his brains out. His son is about ready to eat the candy. Then I have to read these words here as the fight escalates. Something inexpressible happens. The mind tries to make sense of it through metaphor. Words fail from nothing to nothing. And you can see his son has now built a sculpture of the Martian Manhunter. And he and his wife decide they can work it out. They are a team. They need to stick together. And then you get another one of these incredible pages that appears all white until you hold it up to the light. And what do we see? I want you to know who I really am. And it's his son.